Hey everyone, welcome to another amazing episode of Week in WordPress. Totally downgraded from last week's amazing HBO budget. I am now holding a microphone because my business partner took our other microphone, but Scott, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for giving me the love and giving me this mic. I really appreciate that.
Hey, anything for you, birthday boy. Anything.
Thanks.
Tape before live studio audience today. We are not doing it live on the air this time. So what is the show all about? The show is where we take some of the top WordPress news from around the world of the week, smash it together, wrap some context around it, and hopefully it gives you a good understanding of what's going on in WordPress. As always, the show is brought to you by Slocum Studio. I got a bunch of new themes out there. Check them out. Minimize on WordPress.org is just over 8,000 downloads.
Yeah, we're pumped about that.
Pretty happy about that. So this is very, very different holding a microphone like this.
Yeah, I can imagine. Trying to.
I can't get comfortable, as folks might be able to tell. So let's jump into, we're going to cover last week's headlines because last week we didn't do a show. It was Friday the 13th, and there was no way I was going to record episode 13 on Friday the 13th. It was just way too wrong, I think.
Makes sense to me.
So let's jump into some of the quick headlines from last week so we don't waste too much time. WordPress is an app platform. Jake Goldman wrote this over on his blog. Of course, I love the talk about WordPress as an app platform just because I obviously love WordPress, and I love how extensible it is. I love the open platform. I love what we can do with it. So when I see and hear people talk about WordPress as an app platform, it gets me excited.
Yeah.
Even though Jake might not feel it's ready for that market, maybe some folks aren't, the folks who are investing in real apps as we know it. Mm-hmm. Probably look at WordPress as something that's not completely there yet or not ready for that app feel. Either way, I think it's something we can use as that or as whatever we want, being open source and open.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I've come across an example before from Web Dev Studios for the Dallas Museum of Art, and they actually built an app, powered by WordPress for the patrons of that museum to walk around and, get some specific details about whatever piece they're looking at. It's interesting because that is an app in I think in every sense. So I kind of have to disagree with Jake here. And I think it's ready like you. I mean, I think we're ready to start moving into that. And also Matt Mullenweg said, that in his State of the Word as well, that we're becoming more of an app-centric platform. And I can only imagine with 3.7 and 3.8 that, it's going to get further closer to that.
It's really helping us push out data. It might not be an app in the sense of, an app that you might experience on an iPad or an iPhone, something that's more native with, some, really high-level stuff. But I think that as far as collecting data from somebody in that app feel, like Web Dev Studios example or project that they did, it's a perfect example.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Let's move on to the next one. ThemeForest Experiment by Justin Tadlock. Of course, as the folks who follow me, they should know that I talk all about WordPress business. So this was great to see how his spearheading of the ThemeForest marketplace, doing business there, what the results were like. What was your takeaway on that?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. His goal originally with this experiment, which he he decided to run over a year ago on ThemeForest, was to try to inspire like the thousands of other coders and developers to code better, I guess, for lack of a better word. Just basically make their themes, plugins, whatever it might be, interact much better with all of the other themes that are out there for WordPress. You think of the WordPress themes on, the .org repo, they're all GPL. You can check out the source code and whatnot. What I thought was, interesting is he liked to think that he played a small role in maybe helping shape ThemeForest's new guidelines. But I also thought it was interesting to note that he saw some authors were kind of trying to skirt around those new rules and say, hey, well, I had this shortcode in my theme before, for an example, and what if I just turn that into a plugin and kind of stuff that in the theme? It's now following the rules, but is it, really? I guess we'll just have to see where it goes and see if, Envato actually does tighten down on that a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely feel that. of course, he was, at least some small molecule of pushing that forward, and cheers to him. And good to see the openness on his blog about what that experience was really like.
Yeah, and he goes on to talk about too how much money he made and all that, and real world examples. So it was very good to read that.
The collision of journalism and digital technology. This was a quick summary that Brian Krogsgard did over on Post Status about a larger project, Riptide, and there's a lot more going on there. We're just going to talk about it real briefly about the WordPress side of it and the Matt Mullenweg thing. It was just interesting. It was great. I totally agree with Brian. Of course, seeing Matt Mullenweg in an environment which was much more not about WordPress, right? It wasn't just like, it was about WordPress, but it wasn't like, so what's next with WordPress? What features are we going to put in? How's the company doing?
Yeah.
You heard a lot more about where he came from. And sort of some of how WordPress impacts people publishing in journalism, in news, or your typical blogger. It was great to see, and of course, it was always great to see O'Malley come in, like ring the door, literally ring the doorbell, and like, oh, excuse me, I don't get it because O'Malley just showed up, because San Francisco is a small world. It's really funny to see that in a great interview.
Yeah, and what's the name here? It's interesting to note that the Riptide site, sorry, escaped me for a second, is built on WordPress.
Right.
So
yep,
it's cool.
Awesome stuff. That was last week's headlines. You probably know all about it already. So let's jump into this week's headlines. Our friend Justin Tadlock, once again, Justin making the headlines as he should. Why custom post types belong in a plugin? I sort of let you digest this, but I know from my level of involvement with developing WordPress solutions, this is something that we've been practicing for a little while, and it just sort of makes sense if you think of categorizing or organizing your code. Things that provide this kind of in-depth function should be in a plugin that's separate from the theme, which is the visuals and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I totally agree with that. And then we're going to see an example later on in a headline that might go against this. But your thoughts as a developer?
I think it makes sense. And like you said, we've dealt with this as we've grown as a company. We've kind of, we've struggled with this. Do we put in a theme? Do we put in a plugin? What do we do here? We've adapted more and more to put things in plugins. I think a good example for a reason why you would do that, my probably number one example would be the code reuse. As a developer, I mean, you want to use your code over and over again. Why reinvent the wheel? You can just simply install a plugin and bam, all that functionality exists, for the current theme, whatever theme it is. One thing to know, or a couple things to note for users, if you're putting this functionality into a theme, you kind of force the user to stick with that theme. And also their data is kind of part of that theme now, even though it's a custom post type and it's in the database. When they switch the theme, that custom post type is no longer in the menu, if you build it in with that.
So you're saying if somebody switches a theme, now we've lost that data that you had tied to the theme.
Yeah, exactly. So you have, he gives an example of like a portfolio piece. If you have a custom post type in your theme and it's for portfolio items, and then the user switches to another theme, they no longer have that custom post type. Even though the data is still there, it's quote unquote missing. And then, what he says, what can you do about that as a user? Basically users can talk to the theme authors, and he suggests that they will listen. And I think that's a valid point, because they do. We're theme authors, and we listen definitely to, any criticism or any, thoughts that anybody might have. And as theme authors, what you want to do is move this stuff into a plugin if you think it's functionality versus, the display. So going back kind of to basics, HTML is the data, CSS is the styling, custom post types in this case would be the data, which would belong in a plugin, and then the theme is the styling. So keep those separate.
Awesome. Next headline: Jetpack updates to 2.5. Shortly after, they just updated to from 2.4. Google Plus integration, deeper Facebook integration, working with their VideoPress product, and of course now I'm not sure if it came in 2.5 or 2.4, but now you finally have that tiled photo gallery, which that mosaic kind of thing, and just took forever to get in.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We saw that come by
like a year
while
ago.
back. Yeah, we were like, oh, that's really cool. And
So great to see that stuff getting pushed forward. I I've updated, but I haven't even looked at any of the Google Plus integration. It's just interesting to see them kind of integrate so much Google stuff into this as I play the conspiracy theorist, as always. I think Google is trying to do away with all websites ever created and just have them on their platform. And you're simply feeding, in 5 years from now, we'll simply be feeding data to Google, and that's it.
And aren't we already doing that?
And we're already doing it. But the way they start slowly, year after year, molding Google search, what was known as a search engine, into a platform.
Yeah.
Where now you have to just follow these rules to get stuff indexed, and basically we're just doing all the work now as cyborgs for Google. Anyway, moving right along. So it's interesting to see that deeper integration with Google and embedding docs and maps and things like that. But also interesting to see like that authorship stuff, and at what point are you going to have, if you're enabled Jetpack for one thing, you have all these other plugins that kind of do that very minor level.
Yeah. Are
so
they going to kind of take over?
Right. Interesting stuff. But hey, I'm happy for it. I like it. I use Jetpack all the time.
Yeah. Sweet. So moving on here, we have Automatic. They just got some more secondary investment from Tiger Global, and I think it's kind of interesting to note they've purchased $75 million of Automatic stock, and it came directly from their early investor Polaris, who will not remain on the board but will retain a third of their stake in the company. So looks like
hey, I mean, it's just another win. Of course, half the battle for the Matt Report is to get people to take WordPress seriously as a business, right? And obviously WordPress.com and Automatic is a super serious business. And obviously when you have this kind of investment, so it's always good news, I guess, in the sense that, hey, there's more investment, there's more backing, we're going to be able to do more stuff with WordPress. And then the trickle-down effect, hopefully that all helps us build that ecosystem. As he noted in his blog post, almost 20% now of the world's sites being powered by WordPress. So, I mean, God, they're everywhere.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, WordPress sites are everywhere, and only good things to come.
Speaking of that, too, WordPress actually passed Yahoo in the Quantcast ratings.
Oh, yeah. Yep,
They
I
had
did see that.
72 million to 69 million, and they're now ranked 8th. So just keeping on growing.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. We're still I think we're still in the infancy. It's been 10 years, but I think Matt, as a leader of this software, is taking it. Well, number one, it's open source, so it's not a private company that just has super pinpoint, clear direction. Here's where we're going. Here's how we're going to get there. Right, which is boom, this is it.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger wheel to turn. I think I can say that without getting yelled at. And after 10 years, I think now it's starting to get being taken more seriously, and we'll see some great stuff come from that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. So next we have WordPress.com partnering with Eventbrite. This is that headline we talked about that may or may not conflict with what Justin Tadlock said earlier. So they have 2 new themes, and they kind of integrate seamlessly with Eventbrite. And they actually, and this is a quote from the article, these 2 themes allow you to sync your Eventbrite events to your site. But is this a theme function, or is it a type of plug-in WordPress.com platform function? I think it's interesting to note they have a widget that they say can be included for all other themes. But my question, I haven't tested this out, would be, do these themes have that specific functionality?
Right.
And what does Justin think about that?
Yeah, I know. Justin, what do you think about that? That's a perfectly valid point. Who knows? I found this interesting because I think this is like the first commercially sponsored, if you will, partnership with another SaaS business that's creating a theme for .com. I mean, that I know, first one I've heard of. Feel free to correct me when I'm wrong, because it's often. But just interesting to see that. I just like to know what that's like. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in that conversation. Like, why a theme? And what were those? What was that negotiation like? Like, we'll integrate with you as a partner, and you can get your own theme. Why would Eventbrite even want a theme to begin with?
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense. I can understand a plugin. I can understand a widget. I can understand tying in some sort of data. The theme thing is kind of interesting, because I think you could, I wonder if Automatic and .com is selling that as a feature.
Could be. I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting to see. Like, will they start selling celebrity themes, right? Kanye
Right.
West
Yeah,
theme?
who else are they going to partner with? Yeah.
Right. And then does it turn into some kind of branding strategy? Anyway, running out of time, so we'll continue to move on. The standard theme acquired by Woo Themes. As everyone was wondering, what the heck is up with the standard theme? What's going to happen with that? John Sarrington posted over on the 8-Bit blog that the Woo Themes acquisition happened behind the scenes. Simply put, we've been working on a transition strategy, and makes most of this, and that makes most sense for you, our customers, have been uncharacteristically silent on the blogs as we fleshed out the details. And that's all there was for details, really. It was just said that they acquired them, and then there was no real transition strategy being discussed. Hopped on over to Woo Themes blog and checked their blog out. They're going to be contacting all the standard theme customers within the next few hours. This is when this was posted. So those who aren't familiar with Woo Themes, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do with these folks. I don't see the standard theme in the
I don't think here.
in the e-commerce portion of their site. So who knows what's going to happen? I guess that's good news for Woo Themes and the standard customers. Right?
Yeah.
At least they're going to have somewhere to go.
And I wonder if I do think that's good. I wonder if they'll keep the same. We know they just kind of revamped their whole licensing structure, Woo Themes, but will they keep the same pricing? How will the support work? Carrying all that over. I think they got a lot of stuff to kind of hash out, and they've probably done it already behind the scenes. But I'm sure we'll find out more as the time goes forward.
Yes, sir. That's a good point. I didn't think of that in their pricing model. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, any tips for the week? I didn't even set up a tip.
No,
we've been so busy here at the studio. It's been crazy
good.
the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we didn't have time. I'll try to find something, put it in the show notes. I think it was those GPL icons was what I was going to use.
Yeah,
these great GPL icons. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I can't remember them off the top of my head. So it does you zero good. But that's a wrap. This is a different format. We will be back in full action next week with a regular live show. So do tune in every Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Week in WordPress, covering all of the week's top WordPress headlines. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm Scott.
And we thank you for watching the show. YouTube.com/SlocumStudio. 1,700 subscribers.
Inching ever so close to that
10,000. Right. We're going to be at 10,000 very soon. God, we hope. And we're also in iTunes. Go check us out. Like the show, leave a review. You want to check out some of our work? WordPress.org/themes/minimize. Check out our great responsive blog theme that doesn't have custom post types built in.
Yeah, that's right.
Although we almost did that.
We almost did.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks.